Hello, my name is Chris Reese and I'm your business builder. And today I'm going to talk about a very important subject that is a follow-up to a previous video on food costs and the wonderful things that operating systems can do for your restaurant and managing your food and labor costs. Today, we're going to focus on theoretical food costs. Today, we're going to also use a presentation to help show you and highlight at a very, very high level what theoretical food cost is and how it actually helps you. Most people at a minimum are tracking their food costs. And if you're not, you need to at least track your actual food cost. However, if you have a robust back-of-house POS system that allows you to build recipes and track ingredients, put yields in, etc., then I would highly recommend that you take your controllables to the next level and set up and use a theoretical food cost model. So let's dive in. Be right back. Okay, Chris here, and we are back to talk about theoretical food cost and how this tool can help you better manage your food costs in your restaurant. Well, the first thing we want to do is define what is theoretical food cost. The easiest way to remember it is it's what your food cost should be. Remember, actual food cost is what your actual food cost is, regardless of if you have waste or overportioning or any other challenges in your restaurant. Theoretical is, in a perfect world or theoretical world, the food cost of the recipes for making each and every menu item sold 100% perfectly and to plan. In other words, no waste, no overportioning or even underportioning. No one's stealing anything unintentionally or intentionally, or shrinkage, losing things, etc. Theoretical food cost is actually where the actual yield is equal to the forecasted yield. So you set this value. If you don't know what yield is, a brief description or explanation could be when you cook a frozen item, for example, during the cooking process, it loses weight due to maybe the moisture escapes. So the yield could be, 1 ounce for every 16 ounces of a frozen chicken breast, for example, could be caused or could be accounted for in yield. So forecasted yield just means you've done enough tests on your cooking procedures and you know what to expect to lose or shrink, if you will, in the amount of weight or volume of that ingredient. And finally, you have no accounting discrepancies. You're not making mistakes tracking or counting things. You're not posting mistakes by forgetting to put 3 cases versus 2 cases of an item when you received it. There are no cashier errors where they forgot to maybe promo free or ring up a menu item or adjust for something like a specialty order, no cheese plus tomatoes, for example. So theoretically is what your food cost should be in a perfect world. So that should lead us to the next question. Why should we even track theoretical food costs? Well, it's another piece of data that you wouldn't have without doing it. In this case, if you have your theoretical, it's a chance to compare your actual food cost versus this theoretical number, and it will let you know how well you are managing your food to perfection. Let's take a quick example of 2 restaurants for the same company. Store A has an actual food cost of 31.2%. Store B has an actual food cost of 32%. So you're probably already making a decision or a determination in your mind of which store is doing a better job managing your food costs. Is it store A because they have a lower number? Well, normally you'd think, yeah, But you know what? The answer is I don't know yet. I don't have enough information. I really need to look at the theoretical food costs and compare it to my actual to see how well I am managing the food. So let's review what are some of the impacts to your food cost. Well, the price for each ingredient, the makeup, or you can call it menu mix, of your menu items sold. In this example, you are selling more of a higher food cost menu item than others in your store, or if you're comparing another store, than someone in your other store. So here's an example. If you sell 10 items in store A and you sell the same 10 items in store B, but store A has 3 of the 10 items are more expensive ingredients, and store B has less expensive ingredients, then store A's menu mix is higher. So naturally, their food costs and should be, or theoretical food costs, should be higher. Cooking procedures and yields. That also affects, like the example I used in moisture in frozen chicken breast, for example. The portions of each ingredient. If you're having more portions or more volume of an ingredient that's expensive, it's going to impact your food cost. Waste, over prepping. If you're making 10 batches of something and you only sold 2 and you had to throw the rest of it out because of the time that it expires, then obviously you're going to have more or higher actual food costs. And then, of course, the price of the menu item. Everything is divided by the price or sales to give you the percentage of food cost for your restaurant. So let's go a little bit deeper in why we need to track theoretical food costs. So let's look at an example, again, the same one we used before, where store A is 31.2% and store B is 32% in their actual food cost. Now let's say that the theoretical food cost, based on, again, the cost of the ingredients for the menu mix or menu items that you sold for store A, means for all the items you sold in store A, if you portioned perfectly and everything was accounted for, including the yield, perfectly, then you should have, theoretically, used 30.5% food cost based on the sales. In store B, where it looks like you actually have a higher food cost because it's 32 versus 31.2, take a look at the theoretical food costs. Again, this is an example where maybe 3 of their menu items are more expensive. They sell higher priced ingredients or menu items. So in essence, there should be food cost, or theoretical, is 31.7. Now, this is where the magic happens. The variance is what you want to look at to help you guide whether you're doing a great job or not in managing your food costs. In store A, their variance was a minus 0.7% food cost. They used too much for actual food costs. Theoretical 30.5, but they actually used 31.2. Store B, they had a higher actual food cost, but guess what? They had a higher theoretical food cost. So actually, they're managing a more tighter food cost because their variance is only minus 0.3 from actual. So in this case, this should explain that store B is actually doing a better job managing their food costs than store A, even though store B is 32%. So this theoretical food cost gives you the ability not only to know how you're doing versus perfection, but you can drill down and really find the causes of the higher variance and take immediate steps to improve the controls and decrease your costs. So let's take a look at an example of what we mean. Theoretical will give you better data and better actions. So if you're just doing actual food costs today, this is a good sample of what it could look like, of how you're managing your day. Again, the result was 31.2% in actual food costs. So your next step is, hey, everybody, be careful. Follow the portioning. Make sure you're cooking everything correctly. Don't prep too much. Okay? It's more of a hope, a guess. You have a general idea. You'll do some observation. Okay, but if you continue down on the next row, how do you know if you're overportioning? You may see it one time, but what if on your shift you see 5 people overportioning and the next shift 3 people are underportioning? So you really don't know what to look at. Yield, you really don't know. You know that your result is 31.2 and maybe your goal in your restaurant is 30%. Again, not the theoretical, but your actual goal, your food cost goal is to hit 30% in your planning. But you really don't know what's causing it. Is it a waste issue? You have no idea. Is it an accounting issue? You don't know. Which ingredient is causing it? Is it, 80-20 rule where 3 ingredients are causing the majority of the 1.2% increase in food costs? These are the things you don't know. Now, you can take some serious steps on addressing this. But the only thing is you may have to take 10 steps to address it, or you may have to take steps with 10 ingredients because you really don't know what the data is when you drill down and get the specifics. Now let's take a look at the theoretical food cost example. Same restaurant, 31.2%. Here, because you have theoretical food costs, you can look at variances by ingredients, and you can also track waste. So let's take a few ingredients, for example. These are not what the entire restaurant is, but again, just to give you an example. Cheese variance, right now, the difference between the theoretical versus actual is minus 0.006. Well, when you set those up, this is the other wonderful thing, you can actually set up an acceptable range or target by ingredient. So in this case, we know that cheese is within our target in my example. So guess what? It's within range. Don't waste your time. Again, your time is valuable, and you don't need to waste it chasing after rabbit holes that lead to nowhere or that didn't need to be chased after in the first place. Ground beef, a variance of 0.01. Well, according to the target we provided, or you provide your own restaurant, that's high. So guess what? You're going to start checking ground beef. First thing you want to do, obviously, is check portioning. You can check yields, how it's cooked, etc. But now you can start drilling down on specific ingredients. Shredded lettuce, you have a variance of minus 0.003. Guess what? It's within the range. No action required. And here's an interesting one. If you have bottled drinks or prepackaged drinks, in this case, bottled orange juice, we have a very high variance that's outside our target. That is one of the most clear-cut items or clear-cut types of ingredients, if you will, that you can quickly assess and quickly take care of and correct. Because it's pretty hard to give a half a jar or half a bottle of orange juice to a customer. It's either 1 or it's either 0. So if you have high waste on that, then most likely there's a few things going on. There could be theft. There could be, people giving out to their friends or giving out extra bottles of orange juice. There could be waste. Maybe somebody dropped a whole case on the floor and three or 4 bottles broke. Again, if you're tracking waste, you'll know that. Or it could be what I call an accounting issue, which could be anything from not checking it in or posting it accurately when it arrived, the cashier not ringing it up, the cashier giving it away without ringing it up, hitting the wrong flavor, whatever it is, it's basically a human error when I call accounting. So let's recap. Hopefully you can see, again, this is a very, very high level. We didn't get into formulas or how to set up your recipes. Most back office systems or POS systems, they have people that you can call at their help desk to help set those up. But in order to recap for the video for purposes of today, I recommend extremely that you track your food costs no matter what. At a minimum, you should be tracking actual food costs and have a goal for your restaurant each month. If you have a robust back office system that I briefly mentioned, and you can build and track the recipes, etc., then I definitely recommend for you to be able to more quickly impact, address, fix your food cost issues. Having the theoretical and a variance will help you be more successful and take more specific actions and basically save time from running down rabbit holes that you didn't need to do in the first place. And as a summary, I know we've talked about food costs, theoretical and actual, which you always want to track, but food costs, there are other things that a lot of people forget to look at, and I just wanted to briefly mention them. Don't forget about your vendor. If you can renegotiate ingredient pricing, who knows where you get your pricing from? If you have that leverage, if you have that capability, don't forget to look at that and try to, maybe you can have a volume play and get a better price per pound of beef, for example, or chicken or whatever. And then the other thing, as an option is you can always raise menu prices where you think it's appropriate without negatively impacting your sales. So in this case, I just wanted to provide you with some great basic information on food costs as a part of the operating system, and more specifically, theoretical food costs. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope you find it very helpful. Feel free to show these videos to your team, to your chefs, to the people in your restaurant. Hopefully they will get great use out of it, and you can improve your food costs in a very quickly and efficient way. So also, I want to remind you, if I'm providing what you are desiring, then please like my video and subscribe so you can be notified on future videos that I will provide for the grand opening of you. Thank you so much. And remember, life's a journey. Be sure to enjoy it. Take care. Bye-bye.